Hello everyone, I'm Beastly Eel, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the series premiere of Penguin. So this was a one episode premiere, and we're going to get right into it. So what we're going to do is talk about the episode as a whole, and then talk about where we think this series is going to go based on what we see in this episode. So let's get right into it. So it starts off with Penguin. Well, first off, we figure out what was going on right after Gotham. The floods happened, destroyed a lot of areas, which should not have been much of a shock whatsoever. Mostly the poor areas were the ones that were affected more than obviously the rich areas. And pretty much Gotham was trying to put the pieces back together. During this time, obviously, Carmine Falcone was killed, and there's a gap in power. A gap in power not only in the Falcone family, but in the streets as well. Crime is up significantly where it's not just organized crime, but crime in general for people just to survive. I mean, people have lost their homes, their lives, and their livelihoods. So because of that, more people are out on the streets causing mayhem and destruction. So we have Penguin walking into the Iceberg Lounge, going into Carmine's um, suite, I guess the best way to phrase it. And that's when Alberto Falcone finds him. And this does not go well. It starts off going okay in the sense of where Alberto basically explains to him that his father told him all about Penguin. I was a good soldier, did what he was told, but also skimmed off the books. And his dad knew but didn't care because he knew if they allowed you to have some scraps, it was going to be fine because you were going to do anything that was asked of you because of it. Made you feel big and strong, even though, let's be honest, you're not. So during this interaction, Alberto basically explains to Penguin that he's never going to be the boss. He can never be the boss because he's a joke. He's nothing more than basically a freak that can't do anything. And shockingly, Penguin doesn't take that well. And then he does something that's not out of Penguin character, I will say, but I was surprised that they did this so early. Penguin just shoots Alberto and kills him dead right there. Shoots him dead, gets rid of him, done. So he goes to bring down the body. His car is being broken into by a bunch of delinquents. He pulls his gun out, open fires on them. They scatter except for one, Vic, who has a speech impediment, who he basically blackmails to not basically, but just gets him to help him um, dispose of the body. So Vic helps Penguin reluctantly, obviously, and gets the body inside of a junk car trunk, where it will most likely be compacted and turned into, I guess you would say, scrap metal. So all of that happens, right? Penguin then has a meeting with the heads of the family. He also has Vic basically blackmailed where he has to do everything that's said to him, and he follows along like a good little boy or soldier, depending on how you look at it. Although when they get rid of the body, he was going to kill Vic, but Vic convinced him otherwise. And I think that has to do with two things. One, that Vic begged for it, but two, the fact that he has a disability. Now, granted, it's a speech impediment, and it's not your stereotypical disability that you see out there. Because Penguin has a physical disability, right? He has a cleft foot, or what looks like a cleft foot. And I might not be the exact diagnosis, but whatever. He has a brace and has to waddle when he walks, right? Very penguin-like, and obviously has the scars and everything else. So with that, for sure, Penguin sees a little bit of himself inside Vic, so he allows him to stay with him and allows him to live. Anyway, so we go back to the meeting, right? So Penguin gets there and they explain to Monsieur Penguin um, that they're going to shut down his operation. So Penguin was running the drugs in Gotham, specifically out of a warehouse that was flooded because of the Riddler, right? So during all of this, obviously, we have they lost a lot of money. Lost a lot of drugs and lost a lot of money because of everything that was going on. So they're deciding as a family that they're going to move the shipment up north to a different area of Gotham, where it's going to be a lot easier to sell there. Penguin's against it, expresses his feelings very loudly to the family, and the family basically says to him, we're doing this, one of us is doing this out of courtesy because you're a loyal member of this family. I, however, do not feel the same way, and you're going to do what you're told. So Penguin decides to keep his mouth shut, but does explain that he's going to want to try to do something to get basically get his place back, or his operation back and running. So that's when Sophia comes in, Sophia Falcone, who was in Arkham for a long time, a serial killer who liked to murder people without a problem. I say it that way for many, many reasons. So she wants to have dinner with said penguin, and explains exactly what she wants to do. So Penguin is not super happy with it and is also not really thrilled with having to go, but he can't say no to her. So when they go out to dinner, this is probably the funniest scene to me anyway. We see her eating like, well, like a pig. She is devouring everything with her hands and everything else. Now everyone's watching her because this is a very fancy restaurant. And so she's having this conversation with Oswald, or Penguin, depending on how you want to address him. I guess we can call him Oswald, mostly due to the fact that he's not the penguin. Um, so we have all that going on and blah blah blah, and she's basically stating to him like, "Oh, all these people are just staring at her. Do you think it's because they know she was a killer and that she was in the crazy place of Arkham Asylum?" And he's like, who knows? Who cares what these people think anyway?" But realistically, it's most likely due to the fact the way she was eating, more than the fact that they recognize her as a serial killer. So during this meeting, she's trying to get a lot of information out of Penguin and is not getting much of anything. She definitely knows something is not being he's not being 100% truthful on, although she cannot actually put her finger on it. So they have a conversation. They then disappear, and she leaves with saying, "I always knew there was something more about you, Oswald, um, and that you always were meant for more, right? Or always could do more." And they also had a conversation about his car being purple, and he explains to her, no, it's not purple, it's plum. And that will come back a little later. So Penguin doesn't like the conversation that they have together. So during that time, he actually decides to have Vic come with him. They take subways to get to where they need to go, and they go to Cobblepot's mother's home. And this woman is well, at first she's definitely portrayed as a woman with dementia, potentially, um, dealing with the world around her. However, she definitely knows what's going on for the most part. And in fact, we get a little taste of what Penguin's childhood was like. Because at one point, his mother gets really mad because she knows he's lying to her, or at least not telling her the whole truth. And explains that, and starts yelling at this point, being like, "Well, how did I didn't raise my boys to lie to me." And then he finally explains to her, I killed Falcone." And she's like, "Okay." And he's like, "But it was stupid of me. I acted out of anger because he disrespected me." And that's when she starts using very vulgar language. She uses the P word that I won't say on here just in case, but calls him a little P boy. You little P boy? P word boy? And he's like, "No." And she goes, "Exactly. You did it instinctually. You did it on purpose because that's the man I raised, right?" So we definitely get to see a little bit of how Penguin became Penguin, mentally anyway. So he then has Vic stay with his mother and explains to him what he wants done as a plan. So during all of this, he explains what the plan is. Um, During this time, also, he also goes to see um, the leader of the Maroni mafia family, who's in prison, who's not happy to see him, and tries to play both sides, and Maroni's doesn't want to hear any of it. So that's when Penguin pulls out the ring that Antonio was wearing and gives it to him. And he states, "Well, how did you get this?" Then he's like, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "You don't need to worry about it." By doing so, he basically makes it clear that if the body is ever found, it will be the Maronis blamed for it more than anything else, more than Penguin could ever be. And let's be honest, the Maronis are never going to say they didn't because that's a huge plus to their organization. So, of course, they're going to say that they did, even though they did not. So Penguin goes back to his place. It's being surrounded by the Falcones. He tries to escape. He partially does so, kills one of the guys by gets him hit by a bus, and then another guy knocks him out, and he wakes up butt naked on top of the Falcone mansion, where Sophia is interrogating him and explains that apparently on the night that her brother disappeared at the Iceberg Lounge, there was a plum Maserati over there. And this boy was pulled out, who was one of the boys that were trying to break into Penguin's car. And Penguin basically convinces her, saying, like, I don't even know this kid. You're going to take his word over mine? He goes, he's a nobody. I don't know who he is. And why would I be there? So she basically asks him, so you're telling me he's the liar and not you? And he goes, yeah. So she shoots him in the head. Not Penguin, obviously, the boy. Shoots him in the head without a problem. And she looks Penguin dead in the face and says, you're really good at talking your way out of things, especially when your life's on the line. And that's when she has her buddy with what I'm assuming is piano wire, but also could be something else, um, to pull on it on Penguin's arm to get ready to rip his arm off, and explain that she basically wants Penguin to tell her everything. Penguin says he still doesn't know anything, and that's when there's a loud crash into the Falcone mansion. They all run down. They see the vehicle. The vehicle is obviously, for those of us who were watching, was the one where they put um, Alfonso or Antonio? Alberto. I was way off. I apologize. Alberto's body in the trunk. So they open up. Sophia opens up the trunk and sees her brother dead with the ring finger that he was had the Maroni's ring on cut off, and it ends with Penguin being freed, talking to Vic, where he tries to explain to ask Vic like, "How come we didn't do it as planned? I said it was good enough to have just the head removed," and he goes, "Yeah, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it. But I did cut off the pinky." He's like, "Ah, well, it did what it needed to do." So he lets Vic go free and basically explains that he's going to need to use him later. So Penguin gets off scot free because, let's be honest, the Falcones assume it's the Maronis. And so the rest of this series is going to be a gang war that I was not expecting. So I thought it was going to be an internal fight between the Falcones, which still could very well be the case. However, it looks like it's going to be a gang war between the Maronis and the Falcones, where Sophia Falcone is going to be taking over the family business, most likely. I say it that way because there might be some disagreements of her being allowed to run the family due to her Arkham time and her, well, also her gender as well. So all of that being combined, having that happen in the Falcones, and then we have the Maronis obviously attacking the Falcons, and then while they're all fighting, Penguin come in to take over and want to be the leader of it all. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But that's my guesses for right now. And Penguin's going to be trying to build himself his own crime family, and we'll see how that goes. But let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Beastly Eel signing out. Have a great night.